you have gotten here despite your ruthless inner critic and drill sergeant, not because of it. You've gotten here because of your talent and your intelligence and your effort. And if you can learn how to take away those pieces that are actually holding you back, you will retain all of those amazing qualities and do so much better. Welcome back to our Happy Rainmakers video series where point one can make a difference. I'm really happy to be joined today by Jordana Confino, who is the founder and CEO of JC Coaching and Consulting. Welcome, Jordana. Thank you so much, Jen. I am so excited to be with you today. Well, we're excited to have you. I've been following your content on LinkedIn, which I would really advise everybody who's watching this video to do because it's all very, very helpful. But you work with lawyers who kind of have to get out of their own way, get out of their own head. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yes, and you really hit the nail on the head. When people say, "What do you do?" In one sentence, I say I work with high achieving lawyers and professionals who need to get out of their own way. And it's the way that I came into doing this work was because I was one of those lawyers and am now sharing and coaching people on the things that I desperately wish that someone would have shared with me before I burnt out and left the legal profession in terms of practice. And so really all of the work that I do is grounded in my training in positive psychology, which I found, by the way, Googling how to be happy when I was a burnt out lawyer. And positive psychology is the scientific study of human flourishing. And so what it explores is the connection between our all different facets of our well-being in all senses of that word and how it connects to our performance, our physical health, our longevity, all of these other things. But most relevant here, our performance, because I know that many, if not most, high achieving lawyers are kind of raised with the same belief that I had, which is that we need to forsake every aspect of our well-being in order to be successful. And the truth is that it's actually the opposite. Well-being fuels success, even in a highly intense, demanding profession like law. And there are ways that we can cultivate the foundational elements of our well-being that is compatible with the environment that we're working in. And so learning how to work with our well-being and work for it rather than against it, which is so counterintuitive for so many lawyers, is actually essential. So I do a lot of that. And then I'm also just on a mission to deglorify perfectionism as a badge of honor, because for similar reasons, we think it's helping us and actually it's hurting us so much professionally as well as personally. Yeah. So I remember reading a book many, many years ago. My kids are 17 and 20 now, but it was if you're raising a very smart child, when you tell them, when they're doing a school assignment or studying for a test, you can't tell them to do their best because their best is staying up all night and not eating and, being consumed with it because that's the best I could do was 24 hours of studying straight. And you just tell them to put forth a reasonable effort. Yeah, and it's interesting because staying up all night the night before the test isn't actually going to make you do better. Like we all believe that more is better if it doesn't hurt, it's not working. And, stress and effort are helpful to a point, and then we reach a point of diminishing returns where it actually becomes harmful for us. And on the perfectionism piece, I think what a lot of people don't even recognize is that perfectionism is not drive for excellence. It is the fear and shame-based approach to achievement. And that are we driving ourselves forward with punitive threats about what will happen if we fail or admonitions that we're not good enough and everyone's going to find out if we don't drive ourselves harder? Or are we trying our best because doing so is honoring our values and really trying to push ourselves forward with that intrinsic motivation rather than fear tactics? And that is the critical difference that, again, not only destroys our mental and physical health, which it very much does, and there's a lot of research on that, also actually prevents us from performing at the highest possible level. My son, before a test, if he's worried, will spiral into, and then I'll end up homeless. And I always say, well, you could live in your old room. You're never going to be homeless. So why don't we go back to the worst that's going to happen is you won't like your grade on the test.
It's amazing because there's actually research that shows that students who do something that makes them feel a wave of positive emotions before taking an exam outperform their peers even after controlling for all other variables. So stoking ourselves up with that anxiety before tests is actually the worst thing that we can do for ourselves. If we actually just like call a friend or watch a funny cat video, we will perform at such a higher level. And so it's just I feel like our beliefs about how we need to think and operate in order to be successful are actually they're understandable because everyone before us thought it, but they're not helpful. And the problem is that so many high achievers are like, oh, well, of course it's working because I've gotten to where I am. And when I say to them is, no, no, you have gotten here despite your ruthless inner critic and drill sergeant, not because of it. You've gotten here because of your talent and your intelligence and your effort. And if you can learn how to take away those pieces that are actually holding you back, you will retain all of those amazing qualities and do so much better. And unfortunately, it is something that people need to actually experience in order to believe generally. But what I say is, I feel like my story is a cautionary tale because I'm like, listen, I get it. Like, I was the most raging overachiever that there was. I got the things that so many people say they want. And then I learned that that approach was really not sustainable over the long term or even optimally effective in the short term. And then I've gone back and studied it. And like, there's actually this better way that we can do without losing our edge or turning into a weak, lazy marshmallow. But you need to have a little bit of a courage to give it a try.
Well, I think there's so much hope in what you've said. And I'm so happy that you were able to explain that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this conversation, Jen.